Welcome to a Veterans Day edition of Mic Drop Mondays. Today we salute the heroes who serve this country and still serve the public every day in the Postal Service. Veterans, we see you, we honor you. In today's episode, it's all about you. Let's turn it up and show some love this Mic Drop Monday. Let's go.
Mic Drop Mondays. Welcome to Drop Mondays, everybody. And I am serving as your host because if you might not know, Mike is only our national business agent, but he's also a letter carrier, right? But actually out carrying mail today. And today, he's going to be working quite late into the evening because we had a snowstorm here in Chicago to greet us in the morning. So we won't see Mike, so you're just going to see me as the host, along with our producers, Sarah and Renee. And so we're going to start with introductions, go around the room, and then we'll hear some questions.
My name's Kevin Gottlieb. I'm the president of Branch 79 in Seattle.
Okay, Kevin. And again, my name is Ronny Morgan. I'm Branch 11, Chicago. I'm the vice president.
Yolanda Cavett, recording secretary for Branch 11.
I'm Dawn Annan. I am the trustee for Branch 715, and I am WSALC state president.
I'm Kevin Bedswater. I'm Branch 825. I'm a carrier and I'm a steward at the office.
And I'm Erin Doherty. I'm out of Branch 70. I am a Coast Guard veteran, and I am also the shop steward in my office.
Awesome. Okay, so we're acquainted briefly. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. This is a special episode of the Mic Drop Monday because it's Veterans Day is tomorrow, and so we all have one thing in common. And Erin introduced herself and her service. We're going to talk a little bit about our service to the country and just what it means to be a veteran in the Postal Service and working within this union. So I think we'll look for whatever questions that are out, and we'll go from there.
All right, so mix it up this time here with, just a opener to warm us up. I'll start with you, Don. And this question is for everyone here. Can you share what branch you served and what motivated you to enlist?
I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and my father was a veteran. He was in the Marine Corps, and his dad was a veteran also. So I guess it's kind of a family thing. And when I graduated high school, I wasn't sure what I was going to do and whether I was going to go to college or go into the service. So I went down to the recruiters, and they had all the different branches there. And you can't help but not be attractive to the dress blues for the Marine Corps, right? And when I walked in there, they said, "You're too short, you're too small, and you're a little girl." So yeah, I joined the Marines.
That's awesome. I'm glad you went ahead and went with it there. You're small but mighty. Ronnie, you want to go next there?
Yes, I served in the United States Air Force, and it's very similar to Don. My father's was also an Air Force veteran, and my youngest brother also an Air Force veteran. So it's in our blood. We have our family legacy of Air Force veterans, and I actually knew that I was going to join before I even finished high school. I was in the delayed enlistment program, signed up when I was 17 years old. That's when my dad still had influence over me. So he kind of took me by my ear to the recruiter, said, "This is what you're doing." And, you give the recruiter credit. They're like some of the best salesmen in the world. And so they knew exactly what I needed to hear, gave me a visit to an Air Force base nearby. Oh man, and I fell in love just the energy there, the accommodations, the dorms, all that stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm in. And so I enlisted as soon as I graduated. I was on my way, and um, yeah, it's all good times until the end.
Aaron, you want to go next?
It seems like we all have a similar story. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and actually also did the delayed entry program because I knew I wanted to serve in some capacity, but wasn't quite sure. And I found the Coast Guard and found that I was going to be on our shores and close to a home, not necessarily my home, but the appeal to be able to practice what we do and then go out and do what we do. So when people have a bad day, it's some of our best day because we're out there bringing them in from the surf or the storm. So I'm super proud to be part of the Coast Guard and have served that time.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah, sure. My story is probably the complete opposite of Ronnie's because I had no idea that I was going to end up in the military. I was getting in a little trouble at home, I mean, not necessarily in my home, but, got mixed up with the wrong type of people. And same thing, I went down to the recruiter, and you're right, they are really good salesmen. And the next thing I know, I signed up for the Army. I spent 4 years in the Army. I signed up in Detroit, and my mother didn't even know. So my recruiter had me downtown, and he wasn't there to pick me up. So I had to call my mom. She goes, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm at the Affy's building in Detroit." "What's that?" "I joined the Army." So she wasn't happy with me, but it probably was one of the best decisions I made in my life, going into the military, because that part of my life where I was probably leaning towards hanging with the wrong crowd, I got out of that crowd. And, the military teaches you discipline. And I feel like that's been a great thing in my life now.
Yolanda?
Well, my story is pretty much the same. I ended up, thank you. I ended up getting ready to graduate from high school. And so I was a little nervous about being a product of my surroundings. As you know, everybody that was graduating from high school at my time, a lot of people was getting pregnant and, kind of, kind of looking, at dead end jobs and things of that nature. My brother had gotten out of the Job Corps a couple years before I graduated from high school, and when he couldn't find a job when he graduated from high school, when he graduated from Job Corps, I decided, he joined the Navy, so I went ahead and, followed in those footsteps and joined the Navy as well. Didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just knew I didn't want to be a product of my surroundings. So I joined the Navy, did 4 years, 4 magical years. It's a trip how you, in hindsight, you look at the things that you complained about and you actually appreciate them, in your latter years.
All right, thank you. KP?
Yeah, I was in the U.S. Army. Um, Basically, what got me in, I had relatives. For instance, my grandfather fought in World War II, uncles that fought in Vietnam, another great grandfather in World War One, and we, my sister did some family tree searching and found that we have relatives in almost every war, all the way back to actually the Civil War. And so, yeah, like grandfathers did a lot of talking with me, and I ended up just wanting to carry on the family legacy, I guess, in a way. But also movies. Saving Private Ryan was a big motivator for me. I love that. And I was a 92 Yankee, which is like supply or logistics. And yeah, I did one tour out in Djibouti, Africa. And yeah, I did about 15 years.
Okay, I'll start with you, Ronnie, on this one. What was your transition like from the military life into the postal service?
See, what was my transition like? I I had a a good amount of leave saved up at the end of my enlistment. So once I left, I didn't have a plan. I was like one of the few people who didn't have a plan. Some of the people I served with, they had connected with like a contractor for security out in Saudi Arabia for the kingdom out there. The prince needed security. And I was thinking about that, but I was like, nah, you know what? I was homesick, so I was ready to go home. So I took that last month of leave, and I was still getting a check from the military, and just kind of hanging out at home, catching up on everything I missed, hanging out with family. I had an aunt that worked for the post office, and she didn't have a working car, so I became her shuttle to take her back and forth to work. Just connecting with some of my friends from high school, having the best time, and then of course the money was running out, and I needed to figure out what to do. There were a number of like job fairs, and the police department was heavily recruiting me. So I had those options. And ultimately, I went to go work at a factory that was making padded mailers for, for like what we use in the post office today. That was kind of like a way to keep hanging out with my cousin, because we were having great times, and that's where he was working. And I quickly realized that that wasn't for me. My aunt was like, look, I'm telling you, the post office, a lot of veterans go to the post office. You got to check that out. And so she convinced me to go and seek out the post office. And they actually had I don't know how it worked, but it was a program where they offered the test for, it was closed. There was no open test, but they opened it for returning veterans. So I took the test, and I scored well enough on the test to get called in, and that's what I ended up doing. So I only worked at the factory for about 2 months before I knew I wasn't going to do that. So came out in December, January, February, applied for the post office, and the post office called me. And then I've been there ever since. And besides, it made sense too, because, leaving federal service with the promise of continuing federal service meant that, that there would be something that it would be familiar to me. So I thought, okay, it would make sense. The federal government is what I know. Come to find out later, it's nothing like what the military experience was. Learned that right away. Like even at the interview, I showed up in a shirt and tie and nice and professional, and there was no real interview. They were just like, okay, sign this, you got the job. And I was just kind of a little bit taken aback by the onboarding process for the post office, because it was just so loose and sloppy at the time. I don't think it's changed very much. So that was my transition from military into the post office.
All right, thank you, Ronnie. Erin, do you want to go next?
So for my transition, it's very funny that we have pretty similar stories. I didn't have a plan. Sort of had a plan, but my family was my priority. And my husband, who was not in the service, had a job at the time. I was stationed in New Jersey at a surf unit, and it was time to either re-enlist. I had already extended, but it was either time to re-enlist or make a decision. And for my family, my husband had a job back in San Diego. So we decided to follow for the family. And I ended up going, well, I don't want to be outside with the undetermined schedule. I'm going to go work at a bank 9 to 5. And that's what I did. I was a teller, and I was sitting at the bank one day, and I realized, oh my gosh, I don't like this either. I like being outside. And one of the ladies who came in as one of the people who had an account, and she was a post office employee, and she was cashing her check. And it turned out that she was actually my mail carrier for my house. And so we started chatting, and she told me about the benefits. And obviously, it was very appealing with my government service to carry that forward. So I went and applied, actually got called in as a transitional or a seasonal, if you will, employee, did the interview process. They made it sound like, okay, we'll see you tomorrow. And they never called me back to schedule. Fast forward, I take the test because it came up for the public, and I get another interview. And at that interview, they asked me, have you ever applied before? And I said, yes. And they said, well, what happened? I said, well, I never got called back. And they looked at me like, what happened? And I said, I have no idea, but I'm continuing to work at the same place I was. And they said, okay, we'll hire you. You'll start in 3 weeks. And that was history. And I'm glad I made that transition because I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but I sure like being a mail carrier. So it worked out really well.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Yolanda, you want to go next there?
I can. My transition is a little different. So I didn't want to have a baby right out of high school, but guess who gets pregnant as soon as they get out of the military? Me. So I ended up found out I was pregnant, and I was already when I got out. I found out my granddaddy was sick. Um, so I stayed home to tend to him, and I he was a retired. Well, he was a retired postal worker, and he was also Army veteran, and that was my job. I didn't feel like I needed a job because my ultimate goal was to make sure that he was straight. But I didn't have the skills or the know-how to keep him here as long as I could, forever, because that what my choice would be. Um, but I was I ended up looking for a job, and I came to the post office. Of course, he was a postal worker before he was a union man, and his main thing was don't forget you sign up for that union. And I was supposed to be hired earlier, but they had to delay my hire date because, of course, I was, like 6 months pregnant, and unfortunately, he passed away in July, like a month before my daughter was born. And so, I realized that that's 31 years ago. But anyway, I'm sorry. So anyway, so his whole thing was go to the postal service and get the job, join the union. So that was something that he instilled, and not just me, but it was a family building that we lived in, and we all, including my mom, were postal workers. So coming into the postal service I started when my daughter was 2.5 months because the young lady who worked in HR at the time, which HR was really HR, she saved my spot for me. She told me, let me know when I had my 6 week checkup. And I got on her nerve because I called her every week. But anyway, everything worked out once my 6 week checkup came about. And I walked in the door, proud, um, always pressed. I spent over $300 on the uniform, so I can look good, because when you look good, you perform well, you feel good. So, and I'm a military girl, so my appearance is my appearance and my work ethic is everything. So, that was easy for me. So, my transition, and I thank God I had, uh, my family was everything as it relates to making sure that my daughter was straight. I never had to call off work. And like I said, she was 2.5 months, and my godmother, was there any day I needed, Sundays, Saturdays, whatever day I needed. She made sure she had my daughter, and she was in good hands. So, um, it was good. I really appreciated it. Also, only difference that I had with the military thing, and it's so crazy because I didn't want to have a child right out of high school. I get out of the military and have a child, and that was just it was like that was just so in my it's not stupid, but it was kind of stupid. Like, duh, like, what are you doing? But because when I was in the military, I made sure that I didn't want to have a child while I was in the military because who wants to be away from their kid? You know, I want to raise my own baby. So that was so my transition was pretty cool. The only thing that I could say that could have gone wrong was me having to have bad attendance because I had such a young child. But my daughter was healthy, and I had resources, so I was all gravy, and I was able to give her benefits, great benefits at that. On top of being there, being able to provide for her because when I started, I think we made $12.54 an hour, and that was a lot. I had so much money I didn't know, I was getting checks before I even was able to spend the last couple of checks. So I was kind of hood rich. So that was my transition.
I like the ending there. I like the ending there. Thank you.
Well,
Okay, KP, you're next.
Okay, so my transition, basically when I got out of the military, I started actually in the service industry with restaurants and bars. A lot of people, if you haven't worked in restaurants and bars, some people might not know that it's not very consistent work. You have your good days and your bad days, pretty much all off tips, and I didn't really like that. There wasn't a lot of job security in restaurants either. You basically had to go from, business to business. I had ones that closed down just because the business was too slow, and other ones they just couldn't keep it running, or there just wasn't enough customers to make any money to make ends meet. And I started at this one in Franklin Park, and the post office was directly across the street. And one of the regulars that came in, he was a carrier, and he would talk with me a lot. And then one day he mentioned that he worked at the post office, and I actually had applied one or two times years ago because I wanted to get in, but it used to be that it was very difficult to get into the post office unless you knew somebody. That was pretty much the only way you were going to get in, from what I was told. So he actually told me go ahead and put his name down as a reference, and so I did that, gave it one more shot, and I got in right away. And then yeah, from that point on, I did notice there were some similarities to the military, and then there was some drastic differences. But I thought it is a little comforting with those little similarities sometimes because you do miss the military, and then I would say, like the forms we use and stuff are very similar in a lot of ways. That was pretty much my job in the military, was all paperwork and forms, and the camaraderie. You once you're at your office for so long, you start to get to know the carriers, and there's definitely some camaraderie there. And I know with other buddies in the military, the one thing that all of them always miss is the camaraderie. So once I got in at Elmhurst, there was quite a few veterans, and I would actually recommend it to any veteran to at least look into the post office if you're looking for a job, because it does have a lot of other veterans, which gives you a good network. And again, the camaraderie kind of clicks right away. So yeah, my transition was pretty smooth. I unfortunately, right before I got in, and at the same time, fortunately, I had gotten into a pretty horrible accident, and I was a pedestrian, and somebody hit me with their truck and smashed me between my car and their car. And luckily, I I don't know how, and neither do the doctors, but I ended up not losing any limbs or breaking any bones. but I was unable to walk for about 6 months. I was bedridden, and once I was able to get back up, took me a few more months through physical therapy and stuff to start walking normal again. But another reason why I wanted to get in was because I needed to keep my legs working and my feet working, and this was a perfect opportunity. So I got in, and yeah, I haven't had any trouble since. So it's good to keep my limbs, exercising like that, and yeah, I don't regret any of it. So the post office has been a good transition.
Yeah, so I just want me and Kevin are from the same post office there, so I had to hear that story about him getting hit by that car almost every single day because we were CCAs together. So we would be out there in the cold on the phone with each other. I heard that. I probably know the story word for word there. So yeah. Kevin, did you want to go next?
Sure. My transition from the military to the post office actually started near the end of my time in the military when I had an Army buddy who was getting ready to leave. He said, "Hey, they're doing a post office seminar. You want to go?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to work for the post office." But I said I would go with him. So we went to the seminar. I got out of the military. I went back to my old job under you, Sarah, and I hated it. They went on strike and they offered a buyout, so I took it. So then I ended up working at UPS for the holiday. And after the holiday, I got a job with Airborne Express, which is now DHL. And in the meantime, I went and I took and within my 120 days, I went at the urging of my new wife, because we were newlyweds, to go down and take the test. So I went down, took the test. Like Ronnie said, it was in a room with about a dozen people that were all veterans. We were in there together, and yeah, within 4 months, I was with the post office, and it. When I first started, I was going to college, and it still was not where I wanted to be. Then the wife got pregnant, and I said, "Oh, okay, I'll take some time off from school and continue to work." And well, honestly, I've never gone back to school. And after a while, I looked, I was just like, "Well, I guess this is my career." And it hasn't been a bad. It's not a bad career. I tell people, hey, working for the post office gave me my house, my cars, my kids went to college and stuff like that. So the transition, once I finally got comfortable with this is my career, it was a really good transition. Like Ronnie said, that I remember I went down to the post office in Detroit, and I was dressed in my suit. I had studied and prepared for an interview. And then there's about six of us sitting at the table. Somebody walks in and says, "Hey, you're all hired." And I felt kind of ripped off because I was ready for an interview. But anyway, I had first choice, and they said, "Okay, these are your choices in Detroit." And I said, "Well, I want to go here, the Joyfield station, because both my grandparents lived in that zip code." And by the time I ever delivered their house, they both had moved somewhere else. But my transition was pretty smooth, and it's been a good career.
All right, thank you, Don.
Well, mine's a little different than everybody. With my military buyback time, I have 38 years in with the post office in my military time. So I guess I'm the senior veteran here. But when I went, I saw there was a hiring for the post office, and never did I ever think that, oh yes, one day I want to be a mailman, right? No, and that was furthest from my mind. But I got out of the service, and they said that you could continue your military in through the federal service. And I was on the delayed entry program in high school also, so that actually counted towards my military time. And when I went to figure out if I was going to take the test, they said, well, you can actually buy your time back eventually, and that will help towards your retirement. I'm like, okay, well, I've already kind of been doing this. And when I went, there were 500 people that took a test, and it was in a college, and you got an interview on how high you scored. And it took, I don't know, probably 6 months. And when I came in for an interview, like the rest of the veterans here, you dress for the part. And there was 15 of us, and they had 3 spots. And it's kind of ironic, but it was kind of the same kind of thing that happened when I joined the military. I had a guy standing there. He's like, "You're too little. You're not going to make it." And so, yeah, 34 years later, I'm still here, and that man never made it. So that was my transition. I guess when someone tells me I can't do something, I do it. And now I'm pretty, knocking on retirement door. So
I think Kevin's got you beat. I think he's got more time than you.
Yeah, I got 38 postal for military.
Ooh.
But I got a question, Dawn. How tall
Yes.
are you? How tall are you?
Well, if I stand up really, really tall, I could almost be 5'1".
Oh, okay.
But with my, our shoes there, my Rockies, they give me a couple inches. So
Yeah, at the Carry Academy, they probably put you on one of those platforms to teach you how to case mail. I seen those.
oh, yeah, actually, I was going to say no, but yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I still had those.
Right. I wonder, like, show of hands, who when they first came to the post office said, like Kevin did, it's like, this is just a pit stop, and I'm going to go on to do something else, and ended up being a career. I know that's me. Yeah. There's a few hands. Yeah. Yolanda just was taking a baby break. The baby was always going to happen, Yolanda. You just put it off for the time that you were in the service. But that blessing was never going to be put off permanently. So it happened when it was supposed to. All right, what's the next question, Renee?
So I'll start with KP on this one. Are there any postal policies you think should be updated to better support veterans?
Postal policies. Yeah, I wish, to be honest, I know there's a lot of guys, including myself actually, who uh, if they could somehow just with the transfer of your time from the military and the buyback thing, a lot of guys don't start doing that till much later sometimes. I know there's quite a few people who start it right away, but there's a lot of us that we just are procrastinating or whatever, and it would be nice if they could have like a military representative, a veteran of some sort, to come in and actually, check up on other veterans, that asking them like, have you bought your time back? Do you know how to do it? Things like that. I know it is our responsibility to follow up on that for ourselves, but I don't think it would hurt to maybe have some kind of a veteran that could go to each office and just check up on the vets. It would be real nice to have that.
All right, Don.
Well, I'm going to kind of piggyback on that because I'm also a CCA facilitator here. I did it in Madison and also in Rockford and Illinois. And because of, that I bought back my time, I actually wrote an article, and it has all the information that, how to buy back your time. So that one of the first questions I ask my new students are, were you in the military? And if they say, yeah, I give them that article, and I give them my telephone number and say, hey, when you get to that time, when you make regular, because some offices are PTF and some are CCAs, I will help you if you need any information. But I agree, KP, they should have that in orientation and just get it right out the gate. So that's what I kind of do to be proactive, because when I bought my time back, I didn't know how to do it. And it seemed like you did a lot of runaround. And now that I know exactly how to do it, I make sure that anybody I talk to, it's easy for them, just these are your steps and this is how you do it. So there's no reason to reinvent the wheel on that one. So.
All right, Kevin.
I actually like both Kevin and Dawn's idea. I really like Kevin's of having a veteran that can speak to them because, like Dawn said, I didn't know to buy back military till I was 7 years into the post office, and somebody finally mentioned it to me. Something I would like to see changed is maybe because a lot of our new veterans that are coming to the post office have seen and dealt with stuff overseas, and maybe some sort of program for them that they can deal with their postal career and transition out of what they saw in military and that kind of life. Because I've seen about 3 or 4 carriers in my branch that come home and they just have a hard time dealing with what they saw over at the military and then doing the post office job. So maybe some sort of program that can help them, like we transition from the military to the post office, but to help them in a better sense because of what they saw and did for fighting for our country. So
Ronnie.
Yeah, I want to echo what's been said already. The buyback thing, at least for me, when I came in, I like Yolanda was saying, they actually had human resources, right here local, and they did talk to me about the buyback. So that did happen for me, and I got on it right away, and payroll deductions, didn't even miss it, and then it was done and over with. But I'd say I just would say, if the Postal Service would just follow the policies that are already here, like the leave policies, give us the dignity and respect that we deserve coming through the door, and follow the contract. No special treatment, just do what you've promised to do. If I read a policy and from my perspective, coming from the military, we didn't break the rules. We didn't bend the rules. There were really severe consequences for the people who are in authority over us. So they didn't break the rules either. And here in this company, the people who have authority over us, they're still postal employees. They don't follow the policies that are written for for the craft employees. It feels like it puts us in a situation where you have anxiety can flare up, and can trigger all kinds of different traumas and whatnot. Just follow the rules are already written. I think we'll get along just fine. And people coming from military service, they would welcome that structure. The structure is the one thing that we had in the military. It should be here. It should exist here too, and it doesn't to the degree that I think is appropriate. So that's what I would say. Just follow the policies we already have.
Can I
Yolanda?
just
Go
interject?
ahead.
Sorry, I forgot to mention one thing when he was just talking about. Also, I noticed that it took quite a few years before I found out that with grievances, if you're a military member, you have an additional option um, later in the later stages of your grievance to file something that's for preferential to veterans. So that would be like, that's just another thing that a lot of us we don't find out till much later.
I'll start with you, Kevin. What helps you stay grounded and balanced in a job that can be tough physically and mentally?
well, for me, I haven't carried mail for like 7 years. But when I was carrying mail, and even now as being a full time officer, I just find joy in what I'm doing. When I was carrying mail, I had my own route for like 16 years, and I love it. My customers loved me. I loved them. I enjoyed getting out of there, especially when you get out of the office. And now as president of Branch 79, I like getting out there and seeing the carriers in their offices and them calling and asking questions. So that's what keeps me grounded is I actually really enjoy my job as a carrier and as a branch officer. That's what keeps me down.
All right, Don.
Well, I still carry mail. I have a lot of hats I've been getting rid of as I'm closer to retirement now, but I think that carrying mail and what we go through, you have to have a lot of mental toughness. When you're on the street, whether it's weather. I started carrying mail in North Carolina when I got out of the Marine Corps, and it took a lot of mental toughness to carry mail when it's 100+ degree days, day after day after day. And halfway through my career, I transferred up here to Wisconsin, and I'm the polar opposite now. And it takes a lot of mental toughness to go outside and work in negative 30, 40 degrees, so you always have to, tell yourself that you can do this, and it's what I tell all my students too, that if you can get past that part, I think you'll have it made. Sometimes you have to have mental toughness dealing with some of these supervisors and the things that are going on in the shop floor, right? With the mental abuse and the way they talk and treat you and things. And you just have to remember that we always outlive the bad supervisors, and just keep your head down and, tell yourself all the time, I've got this, and just keep that healthy, mental health thing. That it's really hard because you go on the street and people try to steal from you now, right? They try to rob you for your keys and your items that you're delivering to our customers and things. And we used to be off limits, and that's not the case so much. So I think that just telling yourself, all those challenges that come to you every single day, that you've got this. And I think that's what helps. I'm glad that they have EAP for some people who struggle with that. So that's awesome. Because some carriers, some members have a hard time with mental health and keeping that focus. So I'm glad that at least we have that for them also.
Yolanda, I'll repeat the question for you. What helps you stay grounded and balanced in a job that can be tough physically and mentally?
Oh, that's a great question. I think what helps me stay grounded is coming from nothing, pretty much, and wanting more, wanting to leave a mark for my children, a positive mark, something that they can, be proud of their mom for. Likewise, I was, proud of my mom for being, a hard worker when she first started. When she started, I was a junior in high school. So my mother comes from working at Burger King for 8 years. So we didn't have anything. So that's what keeps me grounded. If that'll drive you, that'll drive you to make sure that people say it's like a cliche that you want to make sure that your children does better than you, and that's something I definitely pour into my children. I talk to them about, saving, schooling. I do the sacrificing, to make sure that they're good, and that's my motivation, and that's my efforts to make sure that I leave this place better than I found it, I guess.
Thank you there. Aaron, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure thing. The way to keep yourself physically, you always have to rest and listen to your body. That's one thing I have learned from the service, is listen to your body. The other thing, mentally, and I always think that's the harder one, right? Because some of the things we see and we learn and we know, mentally, it's like it doesn't make sense. So you just got to keep yourself mentally fit and understand that what you see, and that's what our union's for, right? Like that's why we all are part of it, and that's why we all join it, and that's why we all stand strong together as one to be the union, and make sure that those things mentally add up the way they're supposed to. But work life balance, I would highly recommend work life balance. It's know when to say no, and it's okay to say no, that you don't want to go do something extra, that you want to spend that time with your family, or you don't want to feel guilty for being on the overtime or not being on the overtime. If you're on the overtime, you got to provide for your family. And if that's a way and a means that you can do it, then I completely support it. But just mentally being and understanding that, like, okay, I'm going to work the ODL, but I might not make that baseball game, or I might not make that family dinner. And then your family being supportive is, of course, always is helpful. So I think that's the biggest challenge we have. And I also think that's the biggest way to keep that balance, is to keep that work life.
All right, thank you, KP.
Yeah, I would say keep me grounded is actually the union is a big mental thing for me to keep me grounded, because
You're welcome,
you know
Kevin.
what
You're welcome. No, I'm kidding.
it in Illinois and other states, we're at will hire, and that's not very comforting for job security. And so the fact that you can be in a union, and when you get in one, that's that peace of mind that can keeps you comforted with job security, because as many people know, in an at will hire, you can be hired and fired for any reason at any time. And it doesn't take a lot for employers to just let you go, just because either you don't get along with them, or the work's just not there, whatever it is. And in a union, you have that extra layer of protection, and it goes a long way. Yeah, that honestly really is what keeps me comforted, especially with work, is just knowing in the back of my mind that no matter how bad it gets, no matter how much a management is abusing you, or trying to get in your face about something, whatever the event is, at the end of the day, you're still coming into work tomorrow. You're still going to have a paycheck, and there's nothing anybody can do to change that except you. So yeah, that would be what keeps me grounded.
All right, Mr. Morgan.
Sure. All right. Let's see. What keeps me grounded? I'm going to say for certain, my family, my strong family, my my family unit here is in Chicago. Like I said, I was homesick to come home to them, and I love all of the events that we do together, all the kinds of memories we make and share. I love being connected to my family, so that's one way I stay grounded. As far as balance, I pray and I meditate and I breathe. I learn great breathing techniques. I'm a person who will call EAP just to talk, and never feel fear of reaching out and sharing what I'm going through mentally with someone who's a professional. I think those are great resources. I use VA resources for that. I have a standing appointment every 2 weeks. I talk to a counselor there, and he's helping me with the breathing techniques that I've learned. And listen, and for me, the union it's been a fantastic way to kind of immerse myself into fighting for other people's rights. So I consume the contract, constantly reading, wanting to know what's new, read all the handbooks and manuals so that I'm not anxious. I know how far management can push me, what they can and can't do. Knowing what they can and can't do, knowing what the rules are, I know then how to operate in that space and feel secure in anything that I might do. I know that I'm protected by this union or for standing on those purpose and those rights. So I think we are very fortunate to have a union, to be by our side at a company like this. Um, so yeah, pretty balanced.
Okay, here's my last question here for you all, and I'll start it with Kevin. If you could send one message to the USPS leadership about veterans, what would it be? And what advice would you give new veterans that are starting today?
Okay. My advice to veterans, the new veterans, is like what Don was talking about. Make sure you buy back that military time early, because they will charge you interest. And to the post office, I wish they would do a better job of recruiting new people from that leave the military. I wish they would bring on all these military people. I don't think they're doing a very good job of going out there and hiring or recruiting or even giving out the information that, hey, the post office does hire, and we are the largest hire of veterans, and it seems to be declining over the years. But that would be my message. Get that word out to these people, these men and women getting out of the military, that we have a place for you in the post office.
All right, Don.
Well, besides, buying your military time back, because that's huge. I think that all the veterans should join the NALC Veterans Group because they have all these different resources on the main page. And whether it's, say, you want to go back to school part-time to go to movies, or, they have different veteran groups that give discounts for all these things. And those are kind of nice and resources. So, and for the post office, I see that they're doing more with like the Wounded Warrior programs and stuff, but they really got away from that and not helping our veterans, whether, it's some we have active that still go active duty and doing the transformation back and forth, or if they actually need some more help than the EAP because of the things that they experienced. They haven't been very good with that. And it seems like there's, taking note of that. So hopefully they continue to go in that direction, because, when you sign up to be in the military, right, you're going to defend God and country, and to include paying the ultimate price if needed. And, when you continue on through the post office and stuff, they have to understand that some of these things that our veterans went through during their active enlistment, and they need to protect them and give them good resources.
All right, thank you. Ronnie, you want to go next there?
Yeah, I'm going to be short. I'll say to the Postal Service, you're failing. You're failing miserably. If I was to do an evaluation, I give you all unsatisfactory. You're turning people away. I think that veterans coming through the door now, if they have other options, they're going to reach for those other options and staying with the company the way that things are being ran right now. There's still time to turn it around. We are the Postal Service, so let's start delivering the mail, and let's start treating people with dignity and respect. If you do that, then the veterans will stick around. And if you're a new veteran coming in the door, this can be the career that you've been seeking. It can be, in spite of the postal management that you might be encountering day to day. Get involved with your union. Start coming to meetings. There are veterans there at those meetings. You'll be able to engage with and start that camaraderie that you once had in the military service. It's here. It's here amongst us in the NALC. So definitely get involved and step up. We need your leadership. We need leadership now more than ever. And if you were so inclined to be in leadership and management, go do that too. But remember where you came from. Remember what you learned in the service, and give back what you expect in return. That's all.
Thank you. Aaron?
So the question of giving a message to USPS, I think I'm just going to echo. I think we all pretty much have the same sentiment, and I think that comes from, we talk about core values, right? It's honor, respect, and devotion to duty. Semper paratus, always prepared in the Coast Guard, and it's nice to be prepared for what you're going to do for the day. So going out and serving the public and having everything you need to do that, feeling safe when you do that, knowing that if you have a question or a concern, you have resources, and the union being a great resource. Having, served as a delegate and gone to national conventions, and we see that red or that green shirt or whatever the theme color is that year for the veterans, it's pretty awesome to see how many people in the room are also letter carriers and veterans. So coming together, I would tell postal management or the higher ups that to remember that service. That's what's ingrained in us. That's what we want to do and how we do things. So I think that's first and foremost. And back to the advice to another veteran is I think that was great when it was said earlier is getting a veteran mentor and telling them what resources they have specifically for veterans about that buyback, about Wounded Warrior Hours. I didn't know what Wounded Warrior Hours did until I actually needed to use them. And I'm grateful for having a resource like that. But, I wish I would have been able to better educate others who might have needed it as well. So I think educating ourselves is first and foremost. So as a veteran, take that time and dig a little deeper to find out what things you have available to you is what I would tell another veteran. And I think that the Postal Service has all those wonderful things. We just have to tap into it really well.
Okay, thank you. Yolanda?
Postal leadership, I think their first order of business, which should be, is to hire veterans at places where they have CCAs, hire them as PTFs. Don't have veterans come into this business, this company, and you starting them off with time that they can't use towards retirement. That's a kick in the face to me. I think that's a slap. So that is would be the first order of business for management, in line with everybody else with the dignity and respect, and not just for veterans but for all carriers. Management suck. It's across the board. It's everywhere. It's almost any station you go to, no matter what area it's in. These people, they're, they're worse than subpar. They're deplorable, really. It's embarrassing. So that would be the first thing. I guess that was first and second. And then the advice for veterans. We started this thing in Branch 11. Our vice president, he's so amazing. We have this. We started this veterans clinic. So anybody that starts in Branch 11, I try to let them know to welcome them over to our veterans clinic that we're trying to do at least once a year to inform our veteran members in Chicago under Branch 11's umbrella, the rights, the services, because there's so many things that we have at our fingertips that we just don't know. The buyback thing is, I should be embarrassed to say, but I'll say, I started at the post office in '94. Had 4 years of Navy days. Didn't buy back my time, because nobody explained it to me. People like, oh, buy your time back. I got this little kid. I don't know what you're talking about. What does that mean? It took for me to go to the Leadership Academy in '09, from '94 to '09. And while at the Leadership Academy, I was taught what buying back my military time meant, and the benefits for me, what it, everything, all the pluses, because it's a no-brainer. Now, of course, I had to pay all this money, because all of, my interest was sky high, but it was a no-brainer once the light bulb clicked, and I'm like, oh, okay, why didn't anybody tell me? So now what we try to do is stress to our members all the things that we didn't know, because we don't want people to be like us. We want people, well, Ronnie knew that part. I didn't know that part. But it's other things that we didn't know that we're trying to make sure that we equip them with. Because you hear people say, what's the use in having benefits when you don't even, benefits and or rights, and you don't know them? It's like you don't have them. So that's another thing that I would say, because in that way we would direct them to the information that they'll need, and it's so much out there that they can take their pick at, or probably get rights to all of it. You never know, everybody's situation is different, but I think that it's best that we build an alliance, we build a community of veterans throughout the NALC nationwide to hold each other's hands and, shine lights for one another.
All right, thank you there, KP.
Yeah, I would say, well, first off, veterans, yeah, they should join the post office if they're interested, but you don't just have to be a carrier or whatever position you choose. We need good stewards, and I would say that, like most veterans would agree, one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous thing in the military is actually a leader who has no confidence in what they're saying. They can know the answers and you can even know the right answer, but if you don't say it with confidence and you got a shaky voice or you seem nervous, everybody under you is going to be nervous and they're going to question your authority. They're going to question everything. And we need stewards that can actually, you know, tell carriers the contract and with confidence and tell them that everything's going to be all right even when they're being targeted by management, especially these new carriers. They come in and they don't understand that management will target you even when management knows they're wrong or when they know they're not going to win. They're going to target you and they're going to keep pushing on you to see if you'll break, to see if you're going to give in and just listen to them and make you feel like exercising your rights isn't worth the time. If you have a steward that can tell you with confidence that they're going to protect you and recite the articles to you with confidence, it doesn't take a whole lot. All you need is that confidence, and sometimes that's all the carrier needs. I would say that military members know that better than anybody else, and it would be great to have more military members become stewards because this, your. I always tell carriers your job security and your protection is only as good as your first line of defense, which is your shop stewards. Your If your shop stewards are really good, 99% of your problems are going to stop right there. So yeah, if we could get more military members to become shop stewards, I think they're probably the most qualified candidates you could look for.
All right, thank you, KP there. Ronnie, you got any closing word you want there
Yeah.
before we end the show?
No, thank you all for coming on tonight. I think it's been a really good conversation. We are very like-minded, obviously, and it showed by the responses and the feedback. I look forward to seeing all of you around, whether it be at rap sessions, conventions, seminars, whatever. We're of the same, same crew here. So also, just to kind of underscore what Yolanda said, what we started doing with Branch 11, and it's open to people or veterans beyond Branch 11. If you're in the area, we do this. Last year we did it twice, or this year we did it twice, but we want to be it's an annual benefits clinic, and we have obviously the benefits that come with your military service, whether it be service-connected disability, things that you get with the Postal Service and with the union, but there's also local benefits that we learn about, like tax exemptions, like stickers for your vehicles. Like just today, me and Yolanda went down to get our city stickers. Otherwise, they cost like $125, but they're free for veterans, and all you have to do is be a veteran. And there's all kinds of benefits like that, like a free bus pass. We learned about these things locally, and then we share it with the members. We have them come out and talk to them on a Sunday for a couple of hours and pour into them the knowledge that we've gained. So I charge all of you to do something like that. Things that you've learned being a steward and just being in this organization, and whatever you might have discovered as far as your benefits, you got to spread that information. We can't hold it. We can't be gatekeeping. That's what I would say.
All right, thank you all.